Tropical update as of 9 a.m. PST, August 9th. Tropical storm Leda has formed from tropical depression at 980 as of 10 a.m. and at 11:28 ETC SSMI pass. It appears to have developed a well-defined low-level structure with a clear central region surrounded by a ring in the 37 GHC channel. Dr. Clifford for TAP and SEB are still below tropical storm strength. However, the latest UWSMS ATT up to 45 knots. Given the improved microstructure, I've opted to go on the higher side of the intensity. They went with 40 knots. Its tracking appears to be really good. It was the recent microwave pass and first visible imagery showing it close to where we thought it was. So they're moving 300 by 15 to the south of a mid-level ridge, which extends from the Texas west southwestward across northern Mexico over the Pacific. This ridge should keep a lid on a west-northwest track for the next 3 days or so. We can show you this. Here's the IR of it. Here's their forecast track for forecasting northwestward. Then once it hits colder water, more ridging forms and it turns westward. Here's the models. Here's the hurricane models going west-northwestward. Here's GFS neighbors. Intensity appears to all take it to mid-level Cat 1. We'll go back to the NAC discussion. Which does say back to the west by 4 or 5 days. Structure revealed in the past likely past shows continuing typification. So it's pretty favorable environment. Mid-level moisture, it looks pretty good. Hurricane intensity by the model, they think. I go with HCCA, close to the HWRF. I think of the 85 knots. I agree. I think this thing could briefly become 85 to 90 knots based on the environment and the current structure of the storm. Definitely on the higher end. We'll show you our storm. Definitely a very good structure, central dental cast. Now we're going to go look at another system, which is 95, which looks probably even better than it. I mean, clearly a well-defined LC, banding features, and I'd say this is a depression in my opinion. But of course the NHC is being slow on it. That's the way they are. And I think it's a 20%. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Are you on drugs? But that's typical. It clearly has an LLC convection, and I'm thinking 70% right now over the next 2 days. I mean, let's be honest. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I won't outright say tropical depression, but here's 95 L models. They have at 25 knots. Not very many models. GFS neighbors. Intensity models. D ship takes the hurricane by 72 hours. Everything else takes the tropical storm. Here's the GFS. There's 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, 96 hours, 120 hours. We've got a new system forming off the Cape Verge. Anyways, it starts leaking at this point, probably because of shear from the tug. But I think we have at least a good 4 days of pretty favorable conditions, and I think it's going to become a tropical depression or tropical cyclone of some sort. At 144 hours moving into the Leeward Islands. 68 hours. Anyway, the system off Cape Verge falls apart. Wow. Now let's look at the west of the Eastern Pacific, which has a lot more than just Veleta. We got a couple systems, both 30% at 5 days, but still we reach before in 2 days. And one system forms in the western portion of the Eastern Pacific, another forms just off Mexico. We'll go through this. Here's our Lita. 24 hours. 48 hours. Here's the system that could form the western portion of the East Pacific. Here's the other system. I'll have to go to 60 because we'll go to 72 hours. Really, in the next 3 days, it isn't likely anything to form. Here's the system forming off of Mexico at 96. At 120, it's getting better organized, and the system in the western portion of the East Pacific has become better organized, about ready to move into the Central Pacific. Obviously, chances of development from both of these systems are definitely there. Here's the eastern area of 120, showing both systems. You can go back to 96. So, in my opinion, I agree with the 30%. So I don't. The models are not robust enough to go any higher at this moment. It's probably this system right here that probably formed over here in about 4 days. It's probably one of these systems here that forms in the west portion of the West Pacific. This is also worth watching, but I'm only giving it a 10%. This 30 and this 30. Well, that's your tropical peak.